Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck. Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Tap it in. 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
Let's do that. A new addition to the Oregon football coaching staff. Oregon baseball head coach Mark Wasikowski meeting with the media, previewing the start of practice. The first scrimmage for the Ducks is scheduled for Friday. I'll be there. I'm so excited for baseball season. I think this team's really going to hit. One of the question marks going into the season, what's the pitching rotation going to look like? That's probably true for most teams in America heading into the start of practice. And then before you know it, it's going to be first pitch at PK Park in less than a month. It's always odd to me the way that the baseball lead up to the season is, because the guys come back, they can do a lot of individual work, but no team practices until this upcoming weekend. And it seems like the season just comes at you so fast. But that's why I got to remind myself of this every year. That's why the fall happens. And then winter break, it just feels so long with the way that the quarter schools are set up. But it's worked out well for the Ducks. Also, Rob Moseley is going to join us, editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. And then we won't get to everybody today, but Logan Mercado, Jay Stoffel, Drew Cowley, and a newcomer in Owen Diodati all met with the media. And we've got that for you coming up, previewing Oregon baseball season. Oregon basketball, of course, in action tomorrow, 6 o'clock against Colorado. We've got Dana Altman for you on tomorrow's show to preview that matchup. Meanwhile, Oregon football head coach Dan Lanning added to his 2023 coaching staff on Wednesday. I hired Chris Hampton as the Ducks' new co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach. Chris Hampton comes to Eugene after spending the last 2 seasons as the defensive coordinator at Tulane. He helped guide the Green Wave to a 12-2 overall record last year, and they beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. Coach Lanning said, "We are thrilled to welcome Chris to the Oregon family. Chris brings a wealth of experience as a former player, defensive backs coach, and defensive coordinator, and has an excellent track record of teaching and developing defensive players. He has a terrific work ethic, and his ability to build relationships will help our student athletes thrive both on the football field and as men. We are looking forward to seeing Chris pour into our program and help us reach new heights." That's Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach, on Chris Hampton. Spent 4 seasons as Tulane's defensive backs coach before leaving to be the cornerbacks coach at Duke in 2020, after which he returned to Tulane to take over as defensive coordinator. Began his coaching career as a graduate assistant at Arkansas State in 2008. Followed that up with 2 seasons in the same role at Georgia Tech. Then he went to Central Arkansas as the safeties coach in 2011 and spent 4 seasons as the defensive backs coach at McNeese State before joining Tulane. He is an up-and-comer in the coaching landscape. Chris Hampton said, quote, "I am excited to work for and represent the University of Oregon. I am extremely thankful for the opportunity provided by Coach Lanning and the Oregon administration. I believe in what Coach Lanning and the rest of the staff are building in Eugene. I can't wait to get to work with the student athletes and help Oregon compete for championships." That's Chris Hampton. New co-defensive coordinator, and he's coaching safeties. This is the position that was previously held by Matt Powledge at the University of Oregon before he left to be a defensive coordinator at Baylor. Hampton engineered, though, a remarkable defensive turnaround during that 2-year stint at Tulane. I think this is what gets Duck fans really excited. Green Wave jumped up 82 spots, number 32 in the defensive scoring defense category, 22.2 points per game allowed, and 55 spots up to number 46 in total defense. They allowed about 360 yards per game. He's known for player development, particularly in the defensive backfield. Great addition to the Oregon staff. Welcome to Eugene, Chris Hampton. Meanwhile, it's a week from now, National Signing Day Part 2. We will have our show in the morning, details still being finalized, but we'll have our regular National Signing Day special here in the Country Financial Studio for you Wednesday morning, along with all the events. More details, goducks.com/NSD23. Now Oregon baseball. Mark Wasikowski yesterday, he talked with the media just outside our offices, actually, in the HDC courtyard, talking about this baseball team. Mark Wasikowski, head coach, getting ready for Duck baseball.
It's been a long time since we've talked to you last for fall ball. Just after all this time, just where have you seen some improvements overall on the team with the new faces?
We're excited to get going. First and foremost in the weight room. Our guys have done a really nice job committing in the weight room. And I think from a physicality standpoint, it'll be the first thing that somebody who walks out of the ballpark for the first time sees. It's a good looking group of athletes. And I credit my assistant coaches for doing a good job recruiting guys that are fast and can hit the ball over the fence and do a lot of things. And so that's fun. Just overall team chemistry, I think, too. You know, when you look at what we were able to do from then to now, I think we've really been able to kind of come together really well. And it's a fun group of guys to be with.
Along those lines, from last year's team, who has made few players who have made some noticeable improvement?
Well, Logan Mercado on the pitcher's mound has really stood out. He's done very, very well, as has a kid that redshirted last year, basically. The Hughes kid on the mound has really been tremendous lately. Those two guys on the pitching side of it have really kicked up their game at a high level. And then positionally, Gavin Grant, moving over from second to short, has handled it extremely well at shortstop. He's played very well. The other guy is Shade. Colby coming back off of a shoulder injury. We were concerned about if he was going to be ready and teed up, ready to go. He is, and he looks really good. And then the other guy, who's probably like 32 years old by now, but Tanner Smith has really made some tremendous gains in the weight room and with this game, and seeing the ball come off of his bat this year is a little different than it has been in the past, which is nice.
Talked a little bit in the fall was about adding left-handed arms, and you added almost half a dozen compared to a year ago. We only had 2 guys. Now that you had fall ball and you're close to the season now, have any of them carved out roles by way of more likely to be a starter, more likely to be a reliever kind of guys, where you just have a lot more options now than a year ago you had 2 guys in bullpen?
Too early to tell with stuff like that. There are some movement in one direction or another with guys, but I guess you're kind of getting ahead of my speech today when I get a chance to see our guys, and that's, nothing is set in stone out here. And so, and that's good news, because from a depth standpoint in the field, there's guys pushing everybody at every spot. Same thing on the mound.
What initial thoughts on the rotation of what who some of the candidates would be?
Way too early to tell with anything right now.
Going off the pitching, there's a report that Isaac Aon was hurt. Do you have a status on him or an update on that?
Yeah, he got dinged up at the end of the fall. That's true. We're hoping to get him back for the stretch run down in, our stretch run in the season. Again, too early to tell with that, but still, he got a little dinged up middle of the fall, I would say, and so hopefully we'll get him back for the end of the year.
Who's impressed with some of the new guys that we haven't seen? You want to name a few or not?
Well, in the outfield, Owen Diodati, big, strong kid from Alabama transfer, has looked exceptional. Mason Lytle, center fielder from San Jack. Tom Arrington runs a really good program at San Jack Junior College down in Houston. He's come in with Sabine Ceballos as a corner guy. He plays he catches, he pitches, he plays third, first, he plays everywhere. He'll probably be out there playing shortstop today. He's big, strong, physical kid from Puerto Rico. He can really swing a bat. Those guys have looked tremendous. Dominic Hellman, freshman, Drew Smith, freshman. Several freshmen have really jumped off the page. There's a lot of new guys there's a reason why people have said this recruiting class is really good, and they're showing it. So there's a lot of new faces that are making a big impact out there right now.
You mentioned Grant moving to shortstop. Is that it? Is he going to be the opening day shortstop, or is that still a competition?
Still a competition. Yeah.
Who else is in there?
Well, you've got Drew Calley has been tremendous at short. Dominic Hellman's played very well at short for a freshman, and so has Carter Garotti, who's a freshman. Those 4 guys, probably one of those 4 guys will jump out there and be the guy. At second base, a new guy from Japan named Riku Nishida. Led the Cape Cod League in stolen bases last year and was an all-star in the Cape Cod League. He's jumped off the page at second base and done real well. He's in a battle right now with Towns King, that was a transfer portal guy from graduate transfer from Samford University, where he hit a lot of home runs and was a really strong player for them for years. So it's been fun being out at the ballpark. There's a lot of competition.
Go back to Cali for a minute. I understand junior college transfers and transfers, it's part of the world, but like a player who stands out by that way statistically kind of begs the question, like, how do you end up there in the first place? So
the kid who was leading the country in hitting halfway through the season. Yeah, and he's back with us as a fifth-year senior or sixth-year senior, whatever he is. Tremendous kid, works his tail off, and it was a fluke injury. It was a hamate bone, and that happens ironically to a lot of guys that bat one way and throw the other. And so him being a left-handed hitter, right-handed throw guy, maybe more inclined, I guess, medically for that injury to happen to him. And he hurt it opening weekend of the Pac-12, and so that put him back. We got him back at the end of the year a little bit, as we saw, but he wasn't healthy until probably August, fully healthy. And so to have him back, we weren't counting on that, last year, especially when he got off to the start that he did. And so for him to be in the mix and doing things is awesome.
But going back to his high school days, was there something injury related? Was it just wasn't quite fully developed to that point yet? How did somebody with that kind of skill and ability now, these years later, end up where he ended up?
Good question. There's good players at other levels. And I guess that the portal, that's probably one of the things I like about the portal, is a kid that maybe at a smaller level and wants the bigger lights or something like that, and he's good enough now that they're given an opportunity. I don't like it for other reasons, but we won't get into that. But for Drew, it's given an opportunity to do what he wants to do, and let's see if he can compete against the best players in the country at the college level, and he's obviously held his own very well.
That's Mark Wasikowski, Oregon baseball head coach. Friday, the first scrimmage of practice, as practice gets rolling at PK Park, getting ready in less than a month for first pitch at PK Park. We'll have more with Coach Waz coming up, but our regularly scheduled guest needs no introduction. It's Rob Moseley, the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. When we come back, a fun debut for Rob. We'll tell you about that when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Unused prescription opioid pain medicines can spell trouble. They can spell risk if taken by someone they weren't prescribed for, harm if accidentally taken by a child or pet, or overdose if they're not used as directed. Safely dispose of opioids before they can hurt your family. Find a drug take-back option such as medicine drop boxes. You may find these in your community at local pharmacies or police stations. Visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Rob Moseley, every Wednesday we get the chance to catch up with the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. How you doing, Rob?
I'm okay.
Just okay?
Well, I mean, off the air, we were just talking through my sports lamentations.
See, I thought maybe you when we were on the air, though, you'd give me the, I'm good, man, how are you? You know?
Yeah.
No, we get the real truth from Rob.
Yeah. I mean, obviously our basketball teams have been on a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah. Is your stomach sick yet?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and with, Brielle at home living and dying with both the women.
Sure.
It's exacerbated.
Sure.
The Penguins are awful, although they won last night, and it was a fun game. The 49ers are on a good roll, but who knows what's going to happen this weekend.
But you're still playing, Rob.
Yeah.
One of the last 4 playing.
No doubt. But
it's fun to watch on a Sunday.
Yeah, when you are so invested in sports as we are.
Yeah,
it can be.
But I'll tell you what, I have a serious, this might be the most hard-hitting question that I will ever ask you on this show.
Ooh.
So the 49ers, I was really hoping for the 3:30 kickoff, Rob.
Okay.
Because the women play at 1.
Right.
At Stanford.
Right.
Big game.
Right.
On Sunday. Big game.
Right.
So how are you going to do this?
I got 2 screens at home.
Well, I've got 4, but
no problem.
You've got to, like the split interest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, is this a big enough deal that I should
pause
one and record?
No, I don't think you ever do that. I mean, this day and age with Twitter and everything,
you know what happens.
I'm not somebody who can watch a game. My good friend Chris Hansen, who works at the Register Guard, he will watch over the course of a week. He'll watch every NFL game that was played on the previous Sunday.
That's dedication.
Even though he knows the outcomes, he just loves football that much and watching games.
Okay.
If I know an outcome,
you won't watch.
That's it. Yeah.
See, I feel like in today's day and age, I could not escape knowing what happens, so I'm gonna have to do the two screen.
Right.
But
the question becomes, where's the volume?
So I don't know how your setup is. I've only seen pictures.
Yeah.
So for me, it changes. I got the remote going back and forth, up and down in the volumes.
Yeah, I could do that, but there's something about the intensity of a crowd at a big football game.
Yeah.
I maintain non sequitur kind of, sort of.
We're good for one a day.
I maintain that part of what makes I'll be the first to admit that watching SEC football games just feels different. And certainly, I think if you look at results, you look at recruiting, all that, SEC obviously recruits high caliber players.
They've been fine.
They compete at a high level nationally. But even if you watch a game between 2 low-level SEC teams, it feels different. And I think a lot of that is because of the crowds they attract.
I think you're right.
When you're watching a game and there's just that roar of crowd noise right beneath the surface of the announcers, it just enhances just the connection to it, the attraction to it, the enjoyment of it, all that. And so, the difference, with all due respect, between the intensity of the crowds for 49ers Eagles versus Ducks Cardinal, I think that will be significant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I will have the volume on the football game. Sorry,
okay.
Duckies.
That's, you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
Now, and see, I'm the one, especially audio guy.
Right.
What I do in moments like this is I actually usually have Terry and Bev's broadcast throughout the kitchen and the den.
Yeah.
So I can always be listening to what's happening, and then, I'm familiar with what's going on everywhere else. So I actually sometimes have 2 volumes on.
Gotcha.
So it can be a lot.
That's real weird.
Yeah.
How do you cue it up right?
Oh, it's easy.
Oh, is it?
Like syncing, you mean?
Yeah.
So in the den, you're familiar with the man cave.
You're actually doing a public service, because I hear, we have a fair amount of people that wish they could listen to you or listen to Jerry during football during a game.
And we love people that sync it up. Believe me. There are a lot of different strategies to do it, and I will tell you that one of my biggest professional goals is to find a way to make this easier, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I would love – have I told you my dream post-2024 Pac-12 media rights scenario? Do you think I'm allowed to say this on this program?
No idea.
I guess we're about to find out. So what I would love is
Are you about to get fired?
Probably.
Okay.
What I would love is MLB.
We can say we were there when.
So, all right.
He stood at the precipice at the edge of the diving board, and he said, "You know what?
This is
going."
I would love this, just as a college fan. Familiar with the MLB TV app? I know you are.
Yep.
Where you can select you want to listen to home or road, radio or
sort
TV.
of like the megacast.
Exactly.
Sorta, yeah.
And that's the thing. So for the biggest college football games, also well done on the caffeination there. For the biggest college football games, and our broadcast was a part of this during the national championship run in the 2014 year, because they would do this exact thing. Like on ESPN3 at the time, it was, the radio call with the TV broadcast.
That's right. That's like the app used to be called.
Yeah.
Basically, right?
ESPN3 was the ESPN app. Yeah. So that was a thing. Well, that always said to me, like, man, if we could find a way, and there's a lot of moving parts, it's probably politically impossible.
Yeah.
Money-wise, whatever. But if you could have
rights holders and,
the MLB TV app, and if I'll use Oregon, Arizona as an example. If Jerry Allen's on the radio for Oregon, he's the hometown call. Brian Jeffries is on the call for Arizona. I would love a Pac-12 app where you can select who you want to listen to, and then there can also be a neutral TV broadcast.
Yeah.
I think that, because to me, that's what college sports,
right.
That's what makes it so special, is you have the hometown feel. We're all paid fans. I'm not a journalist. Right?
Wait, but you said you know how to do it now. How do you do it now?
So how you do it now, and the reason that I would love for it to be that easy as I just described, is that it is difficult because it depends on who your TV provider is.
Yeah.
If you're a YouTube TV subscriber, the delay is different than if you're watching on Dish or on your Comcast cable box.
Right.
If you're on your Comcast cable box, the easiest way is to throw Terry up on the GoDucks app or on the Varsity app, have it on your phone, Bluetooth speaker, whatever you want to do, and then just listen for a whistle or when Terry says a time, or what I do is listen for tip-off. Pause your DVR by that amount of time. You just start a stopwatch. So if you hear
the radio is always going to be ahead.
Well, the radio, if it's terrestrial radio, will be ahead. Our stream is usually a little behind where like cable is.
Got it.
However, our stream is usually, to be honest with you, right about on where YouTube TV is. So for whatever reason, the delay for the streams, like are either via GoDucks or GoDucks.com, the GoDucks app, Varsity, all the different ways that we have the streaming audience, I suppose, that ends up being right about where YouTube TV's at.
Gotcha.
But like the Xfinity Stream app, do you use that?
Sometimes.
Like on your iPad?
Yeah.
That app tends to be a little bit, how do I put this? That app usually requires that you pause the radio broadcast because the radio broadcast is ahead of that app. So believe me, it's harder than it needs to be. But that's how I do it, is I actually will throw it up on the Xfinity Stream app, and then I pause the radio broadcast for like 5 seconds, and Terry and Bev are in sync.
This reminds me.
Was this helpful for you?
Absolutely. Non sequitur. This reminds me of a battle we used to have to fight back in my college days.
Oh, boy.
And this is fresh in mind because it came up last night for some reason. Oh, I remember why. But
you can't share why.
Oh, no, I can. Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. I was like, oh, not a radio-appropriate story. Got it.
No. Time, the song by Pink Floyd came on.
Okay.
In the background at trivia. We were at trivia.
Did you win?
Duh.
Oh.
Yes, we did win.
I actually should say, everybody, they do have a very good trivia team.
Time, Pink Floyd is from Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay, yeah.
And everyone, I'm sure, is aware that Dark Side of the Moon syncs up with the movie Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Scott's aware.
And now you can just like go on YouTube and just like find like a synced version and enjoy it. And there's probably at least half a dozen to maybe a dozen moments of synchronicity where you're like, this was planned, this was executed purposefully. And then there's like 10-minute stretches where you're like,
no way.
I'm not sure there's many merit to this theory. But the point of my story is, before the YouTube made it easy, you had to like start the CD, pause it, then start the movie, and there's like a certain point in the MGM Lion Roar when you unpause the CD. Yeah, dude. And
What
like
about-
if you're off,
and it would be even harder with a record.
Oh yeah, no, you'd be screwed because you have to like flip the record.
Right.
Yeah, I think I imagine it came to pass like in the CD.
In the CD era.
Yeah, not
okay.
tapes or
All right.
anything like that. But yeah, it was. Yeah, because like there's this. Everybody knows I'm getting away from you. But if everybody knows the album, there's this line in one of the first couple songs where they say, balanced on the biggest wave,
Okay.
race toward an early grave.
Okay.
If you have it synced up right, balanced on the biggest wave, the song lyric, Dorothy is walking along a fence between two pigsties, race toward an early grave, she falls in. If you have it synced right, that happens, you're like, bro, Roger Waters is a genius. Yeah. If you don't, you're like, this is dumb.
So the equivalent.
Let's go play Frisbee.
So the equivalent is Jerry Allen yelling, touchdown, Oregon!
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and you saw it in perfect timing.
Right, yeah.
So that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
Is the dark side of the moon.
Yeah. The thing that really gets me every time is the song, The Great Gig in the Sky from Dark Side of the Moon, is exactly the length of time of the tornado. And then, again, if you have it synced up right, the next song is Money, which starts with the cash register. Cha-ching! At that exact moment, if you have it synced up right, she opens the door. The movie goes from black and white to color because she enters Oz. Cha-ching! It's wild, dude. Or it's not. Depends on if you got it synced up right. Depends on kind of the headspace you're in.
So if anybody has any questions about syncing up the radio broadcast to the TV broadcast.
Ask Joey about that.
No, I was going to say ask Rob about his example of Wizard of Oz.
Right. Well, now they'd never want to hear about it again. But obviously it's something I'm passionate about.
That was one of our bigger left turns that you and I have ever had.
Yes. That's a high bar to set, too.
It is. I mean, we have like I said, I allot time in my bullet points for you for a non sequitur each week.
It's good to have a brand.
Yeah, that's it right there. But in all seriousness, though, yeah, I mean, we always appreciate that, right? Because it's the hometown call.
Right.
But yeah, it's.
And I see from a fair amount of people. I mean, clearly there are obviously certain national broadcasters that fans really enjoy, and there's others that it seems like at least a faction of fans would prefer not to ever hear from again for various reasons, be they legitimate or not.
Right.
I think some fans appreciate having the option of doing that, but I'm not sure there's enough of an appreciation for just how to go about doing it.
Yeah, and
you've performed a public service.
And I'm the first to say, again, that it is I wish it was easier. That's why it's like one of my professional dreams to have it be really easy, like it is on MLB TV.
Yeah.
Because it can be done. Believe me, I know how. Because you don't know this actually, Rob, but during COVID, when I was doing broadcasts from in here, like when the team was on the road, I had a table. Actually, it's now Alex's desk. That table would sit right here, and we have an audio delayer here in the studio to where I was getting a feed from my counterpart, the home broadcaster, that had basket mics, actually better example for football, the whistles, the sideline microphones.
Right. The Nat sound.
We had to sync that up to what we were seeing because audio and video were traveling on different pipes, basically. So I would see the kickoff, start a stopwatch, and then I had to set it so that Jerry and Jorgie had it perfectly in sync so that what we were putting on the air actually matched what Jerry and Jorgie were seeing.
That's wild.
It was very difficult.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what
there's like
everybody's
physics
doing.
And science and stuff involved in that, right?
Honestly, it was more math.
Yeah.
Which journalism majors can't do math.
I don't even know that physics is math not physics and science.
Math is part of physics.
I don't even know.
Right?
Let's not go there.
In any case,
I'll just get really confused.
But if, in all seriousness,
I spent so many brain cells syncing up Dark Side of the Moon with Pink Floyd. There's no way I have any left for math. And I killed a few that might have been able to devote to physics.
Here's that left turn again.
In the process of.
Boy, I think you did a full circle there of left turns. You went all the way around the racetrack.
Speaking of my affection for music,
of
a certain, shall we say, psychedelic genre.
I was just going to say genre.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue?
No, are you going to do your big reveal? I'm so
Oh,
excited.
God, what? That was a professional level pivot. What a transition. So you've all seen that they're behind me. Gabe can probably zoom in on some of them with one of our cameras for those of you that are watching. But if you haven't seen them, GoDucks.com, the Oregon Men's Basketball social media channels have all the different game day posters that are all designed by students. So that's been a great partnership. Love to see the students. And so the reveal has not yet happened for the Colorado and Oregon game, but we've got one here in the studio thanks to Will Patterson. This is a great design. Cool. It's just a little different.
Yeah, people can see the way it fits in. Go back to that other one, like the wider camera shot. Or yeah, people can see how it contrasts.
Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah. It's kind of like an animated, cartoony feel.
Yeah.
Love it.
Now, talking about a certain musical genre, though.
Look at this beauty.
This is the one that Rob has been waiting for.
Yes.
Rob, can you describe for us, please?
Yeah, so this is very much like Grateful Dead influence. So the skull and roses, like the skeleton and the crown of roses, I mean, that's very much standard Grateful Dead iconography. And the VW bus.
At Matthew Knight Arena.
The hippie culture being acknowledged there, yeah. So our guy Davis and the typography of Oregon up there, again, just very standard Grateful Dead album cover / concert poster kind of typography there. So Davis just slam dunk.
Yeah. So Davis is a student that designed this.
Yeah. We make the imagery like downloadable. Like I will be like taking that to a print shop and getting a big version printed out and framed.
So if you haven't seen that, there's high res PDFs that come out of each of these, and the first 100 fans to each of these games gets one of the printed ones that are in this size.
It's like high quality paper stock, poster
really
stock.
Nice in the studio. And I know for a fact I've already seen the Oregon-Arizona one with the bridge up in Portland.
Yeah.
That one's been a phone background for a lot of people.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty
yeah,
cool
I imagine
to
if you're that's St. John's Bridge.
Yes,
I imagine
that's
if you're from that area, that one probably hit. But yeah, this guy, I mean, dude, yeah,
so good.
Yeah, Davis is actually kind of ironically, I believe he's from Boulder.
Yes.
And this is the poster, even though we play Colorado this week. That's the poster for the Utah game.
Yeah.
But he's ahead, man. Yeah, because I went to Boulder last year to see the Dead, the latest version, the current version of the Grateful Dead, and he was all about it. And I don't think he was there, but he was all like excited for me and giving me tips on places to go. And
it's been a great series.
Yeah.
I love that we're doing it. I hope that we continue to do it. Maybe do it for more sports too, depending on how things go. I've loved it. It's been awesome. So you'll see more the official release coming, but because Rob and I are here today, and Rob obviously has a certain love, we had to make sure that we could show it. And Will was kind enough to deliver these to the studio a couple days early this week.
The tie-dye vibe, the rhythm, the ribbon going through there. Yeah.
That's something else right there.
It's pretty great.
Something else right there. In other news, if you have questions about syncing up a broadcast, let me know. But basically, here's how I can
If you want to throw a party with Pink Floyd and Dark Side of the Moon,
you hit up Rob. Yep. That's absolutely right.
hit
but
invite.
What you got to do is you're probably going to have to pause one or the other. So either pause it on your DVR on your TV, or if you listen on the Varsity app or on the GoDucks app, you can pause the radio stream as well, so you can kind of sync it up.
But then also pause it like right before some sort of landmark moment,
yeah.
whether it's the opening tip or.
Terry says the time and score a lot. You know. My general rule in basketball play-by-play is you got to say the time at least every minute of game time and every 2 minutes of real time.
Do you use like the egg timer
Not
or whatever
anymore.
like some people do?
Not anymore. But I trained myself doing that.
Yeah.
Actually, I did that more in baseball because in baseball you kind of get lost a little and you forget that people don't have a score image to look at when you're doing radio play-by-play. And so, yeah, you end up doing like my rule in baseball is every 3 to 5 minutes you should be saying the time and the score.
Yep.
Every 2 outs, every end of inning, every 3 batters. Whichever comes first, you should be saying what inning and what score you're in. That's about right. You think about it. Every 2 outs or every 3 hitters.
Yeah.
That could come quick.
Totally.
We didn't talk
depending on pace of play of certain teams. Not
That's
so
right.
Quick, yeah.
That's right. We did not talk about anything else that I thought we would talk about today, and you have
okay. That's why
to
you
do.
have like coaches and student athletes.
That's true.
They can talk about the stuff
That's
that
true.
matters. I'm here for nonsense.
You said it, not me.
Yes.
Again, it is a big hoops week though.
It's good to have a brand. Huge hoops week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just yeah.
That sums that up right there. He's Rob Moseley.
I just it's basically still the middle of January.
Yeah.
And we have people out there that are just putting teams in a box already, saying this is who they are, this is what this season is about,
Right.
you know, this is where this season's heading or not. And it's like there's so much basketball to play. Yes, time's a wasting, and you know, if you need to turn something around, there's not a lot of time to do that. But like, there's so much basketball to be played.
Agreed.
And this rush to just say
it's over.
Yeah, you're gonna make the tournament, or you're not. You're gonna be this seed, or you're not. Or you're gonna host, or you're not. Like, I just don't understand that.
The bracketology for me, I have to remind myself constantly that this is if the tournament started right now. Right. Tournament doesn't start right now.
True. Yeah.
If it started right now, it wouldn't be called March Madness.
Right. January Madness does not have the same ring.
No, it doesn't.
You'd have to be like January Jubilation or
February Frenzy.
Oh, yeah, that could work.
And then I've always said April Anarchy.
Ooh, yeah.
Those are my suggestions.
That'd be big
if we ever moved things around.
Yep.
So, well, Scott's got Wizard of Oz up on his computer. He's listening to it right now. On that note.
Dude, Us and Them is next. It's mind-blowing with the two witches, like black and blue. Yeah.
Look at this.
It's wild. It's wild.
All right, I'm going to leave you with this, Rob. Tobias says that it sounds like we need a Walton and Moseley game coverage. The television would melt.
Oh, geez, yeah. There wouldn't be a lot of coverage of the game.
So maybe we should just get you guys, Mighty Oregon Podcast.
We toured him
with Bill Walton.
When the Mariota Center opened, we toured him.
Yeah.
And I definitely bent his ear.
I
for
bet.
a while, yeah. I've seen him at a lot of shows. Yeah. This occurs to me every time I see the Dead. One time me and Chris were up at, I think it was Memorial Coliseum in Portland when it was like Further or whatever iteration of the band it was at that point. And we were kind of trolling around the floor looking for like a spot to stand. And we sort of noticed this like open pocket on the floor area. And we're like, oh, let's just make a beeline for there. So we did. And as soon as we got there, we realized why it was an open pocket, because Walton was right in front of us. And like, obviously, nobody was standing behind him because you're not going to be able to see anything.
Yeah, Bill's relatively tall.
Right.
Yeah, relatively tall. Well, in any case, Rob, I got to let you go. Thanks for being here.
No, absolutely. Appreciate it.
When we come back, since we really took multiple left turns, I think we went around the racetrack 4 times here today. You can find all of his work at GoDucks.com.
Clockwise, too. Clockwise. We ain't going counterclockwise.
When we come back, I'm going to go through the schedule. Then we are going to hear more, I swear, from Mark Wasikowski on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
We welcome you back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Who knew that all I wanted to do was get ahead of the game a little bit and just make Rob happy. We did, I guess. I don't know. Back in the Country Financial Studio. Got to be a quick segment because Rob and I went way longer than I wanted to there. It is a big hoops week in all seriousness. 6 o'clock on Thursday, Oregon, Colorado. You know, it's funny, like Rob and I were just talking about there at the end, right? What makes a must-win? When's it a must-win? The tournament started today, Ducks wouldn't be in it. Tournament doesn't start today. So we'll find out. But avenging a loss against Colorado, now that Oregon is fully healthy, again, I keep coming back to now that Oregon's fully healthy. But they were fully healthy at Stanford. Wasn't good. They've got to avenge that loss now, I think, to Colorado at home. Elsewhere, the Oregon women at Cal, better Cal team than the Golden Bears have been in years past, truthfully. 7 o'clock on Friday evening, Terry Johns will have the call. 5 o'clock back at Matthew Knight Arena on Saturday, Oregon against Utah, and that's, of course, when you're going to be one of the first 100 fans that's going to get a printout of that poster. That's what you're looking for. Grateful Dead themed. And then lastly, the Oregon women, we were talking about it to start. That's what led to, I had forgotten, that's what led to all of this wildness with me and Rob, that it's 1 o'clock Stanford for Oregon women's basketball on Sunday. And yeah, he and I will both be watching 2 things at once, at least. I'll probably be watching like 4 things at once. And then you sync Terry's broadcast. And it can be done by either pressing pause on the radio stream or by pressing pause on the TV stream. Okay. Timeout again. Sorry for the quick segment. We did what you call in the radio world burning the clock. I have no other thing to say. When we come back, Mark Wasikowski on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans! The official 2022 Oregon football trading cards are now available exclusively at your local Oregon Jackson's food stores. The cards feature over 100 of your favorite Duck football student athletes from the 2022 season. Each pack contains 14 cards, and 1 out of every 10 packs will contain a special edition signed card, so be sure to collect them all to complete your set. Visit Jacksons.com for store locations.
Jacksons. Let's go.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads. It's our safety. Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
I've been driving trucks for a long time, and safety is my #1 priority. I know that my truck has huge blind spots. That's why I remember to check my mirrors often for smaller vehicles. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're behind the wheel, try to avoid lingering in those blind spots. It can be dangerous. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We're actually back now to the Ducks. Getting ready for baseball season. Mark Wasikowski, you heard part 1 earlier on the show. Now part 2, talking about his team, getting ready for the first scrimmage of this early practice season on Friday, actually. I'll be there at PK Park. We'll have some updates for you. Mark Wasikowski, part 2 of his press conference, I should say, previewing the season with the media.
Catching position pretty good with Josiah and Bennett, or you got anybody else challenging? Or?
Yeah, we've got a couple of guys there challenging. You know, Anson Arrows was a redshirt last year. He was the second-rated prospect out of the state of California coming out of high school. He's a switch hitter that's really good, and he's caught very well. And Chase Meggers redshirted last year. His dad played a lot of professional baseball, and he's a good one too, left-handed hitter from Northern California.
Being a switch hitter, you might platoon a little bit, left-handed hitter and right-handed.
He can really, Arrows can really hit. They're all, it's a heck of a battle at the catching position. And, you know, Ceballos is our 5th catcher. And in some years, you would really be thrilled to have him as your 2nd catcher. He's that good. So he was drafted by the Angels last year as a catcher.
How do you keep them all happy?
Well, that's
tough.
With rotation struggling at points last year, especially after Meyer went down, just what have you guys, you and Angier, gone through to try to alleviate some of those issues and make your staff the strong part of your team?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I mean, the good news, the first thing is with recruiting. We've tried to really recruit well at the high school level, and we were able to get some high school freshmen in that are really talented kids. You know, Matthew Grabman from Canada, Turner Spoljarek from Canada. Those 2 guys are, you know, Canadian team members. They're well traveled on the international scale in the international competition and stuff like that. So there's some polish to those guys, which is great, and they have great arms. But we've really just tried to nail it with recruiting, and then do a good job of being patient with some of the guys like Hughes. You know, his brother was really a carbon copy of him going into Gonzaga at the same time, and he ended up being a high first-round pick last year out of Gonzaga. And so just staying patient, letting time take its course, and letting guys really kind of develop. And then some veterans, you know, like Matt Dallas has come back, and he's thrown the ball exceptionally well. You know, he's been fantastic. Stone Cherby's been really, really good. And so just kind of being patient and letting guys maybe get through the first year in our program and see what they have to offer after they start getting their feet more comfortable in the dirt.
With the NCAA changes, I realize it's going to be a couple months, but initial thoughts of who the additional assistant will be with the changes that are forthcoming? Or
no, too early to tell all that kind of stuff. I love my staff. I would, you know, I haven't even had discussions with our administrations about funding of the staff positions now that are allowed. From what I understand, at each institution, and maybe ours is unique, but maybe not. From what I understand, the new rule change doesn't just impact baseball. Yeah. It impacts all sports, which would be in the neighborhood of like 22 positions just at Oregon. And so, you know, just at a minimum type salary, you're probably looking at incurring a pretty big chunk of money that I'm glad that's not on my desk of things that I got to figure out. So, you know, the administration's always told us point blank they were going to do everything possible to be able to keep our program at the very top and funding all the way through. And they have. They've been awesome. You know, Rob Mullins, Eric Rodell have been great.
And on the personnel side, the adjustment do you like the change that basically softball's falling in line with you guys as opposed to if you guys could have gone to what softball is doing in terms of the mid-year transfer where that's just not permissible, where like we talked about before, where it's not permissible in December, but for softball it was until next year. Like, would you have preferred it to go their way as opposed to?
Well, and from what I understand, they got a heck of a pitcher out of the deal this year that's going to probably help them quite a bit. I don't like the mid-year transfer. I think that is a nightmare. You know, to have somebody stick around for all fall long and then all of a sudden they can jump ship and go to another program freely and play mid-year. I don't like that on a lot of levels. And so I'm glad that maybe that isn't going to come into our game. But still yet, the NCAA is going to do what they are going to do and make the changes they think are going to improve our game.
Are there any other players similar to Aon who might miss the start of the season and then maybe come back later? Or like, what's the injury report if you want to get into it?
No, I hope not. You know, we're trying to keep it as healthy as possible. I mean, there's guys, you know, just like any locker room, there's guys with nicks and stuff like that. But I hope not. I hope we can start the year healthy and finish strong.
When we went through the shortstop competition there, you've named a lot of guys. Just how have the competitions been all fall? And then what are you looking for in these next couple of weeks of practice before the season starts?
I think it's tough for the players sometimes because now with the increased media attention in our game, the game's more popular, but with media attention comes a lot of preseason projections, and those can come across like decisions are made. And that would be the worst thing for anybody, specifically in our locker room with the depth we have, to read into any of those publications. As good of a job as they do, it's still based off of stuff that basically has been projected before we even start our full weeks of practice. We don't start our first official practice until the 27th by rule. So to make projections before 3 weeks of competitive games and scrimmages and all the practices with team is really early. And so for guys to read into positions of where publications may have would be a mistake. And what I'm looking for is the guy that's the hungriest guy, that's the most complete player to help you win games. Not the most maybe talented or projection guy, but the guy that's going to help you win right away.
You've covered about every position, maybe first base. Jacob Walsh, how's he doing?
Boy, Jacob looks really good. He's big and physical. Dominic Hellman's getting run over there. He's a young kid, freshman. He's only about 6'5" or 6'6", and he's got tremendous power. And Drew Smith's over there, so is Sabine Ceballos. There's, when drafted players are, not just being absolutely inked into starting positions, that's a good sign for the recruiting. And I credit again Jack and Jake Angier, Jack Marner, Jake Angier, for helping us get to that point. So, it's been a fun, competitive spirit out there on the field.
You mentioned kind of on an individual player basis, but for the entire team, how do you manage kind of renewed preseason expectations that you guys have now?
Well, that's what we signed up for, and we want to get them better, and so whatever the expectations are now, I mean, they should be to get to the College World Series, and you got to catch some breaks when you get there. But, having guys, energy guys like Tyler Gannis that have been moving around the field and are great locker room and clubhouse guys, that's where a guy like Tyler Gannis is absolutely valuable beyond belief, to be able to just keep, guys grounded in the fact that the team's first. And so where Tyler's competing for probably 6 spots on our field to start as well, and he's bigger and stronger and more physical, his value in the clubhouse and the locker room with what you guys have talked about is really important.
A lot of good takeaways from Mark Wasikowski, segment 1 of today's show, and then just right there. I feel like he really likes the competition and the depth of this team. That might be the number one thing to watch heading into the first game, is what some of those position battles look like. The other thing that stuck out to me is that he mentioned a number of different players that were competing for different positions. You got to love that positional versatility. Just ask what happened to Drew Cowley last year. Kind of a fluke deal. Breaks his handmate bone. Ends up being out for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. He's hitting well over 400 at the time. I mean, you're going to have injuries, and you need versatility. It's the whole argument of, can you play your best 9 players, or do you have to just play the best 9 at each position? You'd want to play your best 9 players. If that means that your best 9 is that a second baseman slides over to shortstop because somebody's banged up or some other example like that, you like to have that positional versatility, particularly in a game like baseball. Tobiah with a good question. With additional coaches allowed on NCAA sidelines next year, will Ionescu show up on Oregon women's basketball's bench? So what he's talking about is similar to what we talked with Coach McKenna about actually on Tip-Off Tuesday, that there's a change in the rule coming where you can have more coaches and more instruction. I would say, Tobiah, it's possible. I don't know, but I would say it's possible that support staff members can slide into those spots as deregulation continues to be a thing. We talked about that with Eric Rodell, Deputy Athletic Director, yesterday. A quick timeout. When we come back, some notes on basketball and beyond on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Went through the schedule for you for basketball, and I do want to mention that Oregon men's and women's tennis are both in action this weekend, as is Oregon indoor track and field in 2 different venues. So we've got a lot looking forward to here coming up. I meant to mention this with Rob as well, but if you're looking for something maybe from one of our out-of-town fans, especially if you're driving down from Portland or wherever you're driving into for the games, either on Thursday or on Saturday for Oregon men's basketball, give a listen to Rivaldo Soares on the Mighty Oregon podcast. It was really cool to hear Rob go through the sort of entirety of his life up to this point. You know, I've talked with Waldo about it a little bit. Waldo's his nickname, Rivaldo Soares. And the way that he has described sort of like living what we all think of historically as the American dream, son of immigrants, and getting an opportunity to play basketball the way he is, it's just such an awesome story. What a guy to root for. And he's got a great personality. You'll hear that on the Mighty Oregon podcast. Tomorrow, Dana Altman. Also a bunch of Oregon baseball student athletes as we get ready for their season. They talked with the media yesterday. Got to WAS today. Get to the student athletes tomorrow. Gabe, Ryan, Scott? Never mind, not Scott. See you tomorrow.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perish in the line of duty, college scholarships for the children of law enforcement, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on the USDSA and how you can help, visit usdeputy.org.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen.